Okay, here we go. This is a little video, it shouldn't be too long, recording my pre-release thoughts. So before Nick and Kim 2 comes out, Heads or Tails, you can pre-order it now if you're watching this. This will probably come out at least a day or two before the book releases, thus pre-release thoughts. Anyway, I'm rambling already. But yeah, you can pre-order it now. Nick and Kim, Coupled in Crime 2, Heads or Tails. I said that quite slowly. I'm half asleep. Anyway, I'm just going to go through some points that I've listed on sticky notes that you can't see, but I have them right now in my left hand. They're just pointers so that I don't get too distracted and this video ends up being 20 minutes long. I want it to be 10 or under, ideally, so I'll just get into it. So, thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. I'd thought about what thoughts I was going to say before recording this. In fact, before even finishing the book, literally a month or two ago, I figured it would be a good idea to have a pre-release thoughts type video. So, first pointer is about deciding to write the story. So I decided to write this story after many months having written the first chapter at the end of Nick and Kim 1, Destination Doom. I just sort of randomly decided... Well, no, actually, I didn't randomly decide to do it. It was very intentional. I beg your pardon, or I beg my pardon. It was very intentional because I was very, very stuck. I had quite severe writer's block trying to trying to write. I'm trying not to say the same word too often in one sentence here. I was having a lot of writer's block and trouble with writing Heart of the Mockingbird, which is in the Mockingbird trilogy, a different series of mine. It's the second novel and the third book, because there's the first book, Song, and then there's the novella Talons that takes place between Song and Heart. And anyway, I was really struggling to write Heart. It's not because I dislike it. I think because I'd been focused on the one book for so long, and it was taking quite a long time because of work and life in general. It was just taking forever, and I needed something fresh to switch it up. And because of starting Nick and Kim 2, which I started for that reason, Heart of the Mockingbird's been coming along and a lot nicer. And speaking of coming along a lot nicer, I managed to write Nick and Kim 2 in 5 to 6 months, which is very impressive. The only other time I've done that was with a novella which is half its size, okay, and that novella is Talons, the aforementioned Talons. So I was very impressed with myself with that. I clearly needed the change, so I can recommend that to any artists and or writers and or authors who are struggling with some sort of mental block. Maybe try writing or working on a different project that might just break you out of that, give you a new lease on your creative life, shall we say. Point 2 I'd like to make, rediscovering Nick, Kim and Tony. So Nick and Kim Abrego, of course, being the main characters and the, honorary, should we say, or pretty much third main character, their chauffeur, their bodyguard, and their quickly became friend not long after hiring him, Tony Leota. Okay, rediscovering them. So I'd been in the heads, and I am back in the heads now, of two people, Juliet and Cliff, okay, my dual POV, or dual POV, main two, central two protagonists in HOTM. Okay, they're in very dark places. Now, Nick, Kim and Tony are certainly not. They're more comedic. Very much a lot more light. They're very much lighter. And so jumping into their minds, I actually remember very vividly thinking to myself, this is going to be really difficult going from these more angsty, shall we say, perspectives to more chilled, more comedic, totally different tonally. But actually, I found once I got into the swing of things, as I suppose, a writer does with most things, maybe, going between more than one project, of course, at once, it was actually quite straightforward. It was really nice, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. So hopefully I've nailed the sense of humour. And there are no oopsies where suddenly the book becomes angsty again, where it doesn't really need to be. But I reread it and I don't think that happens, so hopefully we won't get any HOTM bleeding, shall we say, into the story. In fact, I would say certainly not. It's very comedic, it's very funny, it's very Scooby-Doo vibes, so yeah, it was very nice to write that. But I also enjoy writing my dark, angsty, sad boy vibes, which I'm getting back into as of literally right now as I'm recording this, getting back into HOTM after a couple months off finishing Nick and Kim 2. So I know I'll enjoy getting back into that, and hopefully it won't be too much of a struggle, but I guess I'll talk about that with my HOTM pre-release thoughts. Point 3. Now, point 3 is about the series being episodic. And I fulfilled that. I feel I've succeeded at that, at making it feel episodic. So you could read book 1 first. Sorry, I meant to say you could read book 2 first and then read book 1 and it wouldn't really matter. There is a noticeable line of continuity from book 1 into book 2, which I wouldn't have intended, except it just made sense for the narrative ultimately, which you'll probably clock if you've read book 1 and then read book 2. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's it. But it just sort of very naturally happened, and I thought, oh well, even though they're meant to be episodic and as detached, maybe not detached, but like separate from one another, you know, there might be there are certainly things you can refer back to or ahead to about past adventures of Nick and Kim that I don't plan on writing them all. Well, who knows how many. There could be 50 Nick and Kim books at the end of the day, but for now I've planned out, I think, 13 so far. Unlucky number, spooky number 13, of course. The number I've chosen that the chapter length of the book must always be. Nick and Kim books must always have 13 chapters and no more, unless you count the chapter 1 I include of the next book in the series. But anyway, I am derailing again, epically. So I think I succeeded at the episodic element, and you could read Heads or Tails, and then you could read Destination Doom, or you could never read Destination Doom, or you could never read Heads or Tails, and it would still make sense, and it would be fine, and you wouldn't be like, wow, I've missed something here. Yeah, that's my goal, and I think 2 books in, I'm succeeding at it. Yay. Maybe not a big achievement considering it's only 2 books, but we move. Point 4, finishing Heads or Tails. Okay, this was major. So I finished this while I was on Discord call, video call with my good friend, author friend, Cassandra Kurtz. And it was just epic. It was amazing. And she was cheering me on. It was brilliant. I felt very supported by Cass, and yeah, it was just so many emotions. A little bit emotional, mostly just felt very euphoric, felt very awesome. Didn't expect to finish it at that time, because I was sort of like, other authors, writers, maybe just creatives in general, when you're near the end of something, I usually get a bit blocked up when I get towards the end of writing a story, which I did in this case. So I didn't expect to finish it while I was on the phone with Cass, but I did, and it was awesome. And she recorded it, so I've got the video forever of me in total elation. It's awesome. Then point 5, my last point, next steps. What about Nick and Kim 3? So I have the title because, as I've said earlier, I've planned out 13 books in the series. I know the villains, I know the titles or subtitles, because the main title is Nick and Kim, Coupled in Crime, of course. I don't know when that's going to come out, because I've got 2 books I want to work on in 2 utterly different series that I want to write and then obviously edit and then ship out to literary agents, because I'd like them both ideally to be traditionally published. So only when I've finished writing those would I write Nick and Kim 3 and also the final Mockingbird trilogy book. So I don't really know what the timeline is. It might be a year, it might be 2, it might be 3 years until Nick and Kim 3. If for some miraculous, amazing reason, Nick and Kim 2 or 1 or both blew up, went viral on TikTok, had a viral TikTok moment, whatever, I would certainly prioritise above the ideally trad pubbed projects, Nick and Kim 3, but unless that becomes the case, yeah, it'll be a few years before the third instalment. So I think that's about all I wanted to say, just a moderately derailed roundup of my pre-release thoughts. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like, thumbs up, leave a comment. No, genuinely, please do. And please subscribe if you feel so obliged, if you enjoyed listening to this. And there will be similar videos like it in the future. Maybe I'll even do other podcasts. You can't see my fingers moving in quotation marks, or maybe my iPhone's recorder picked it up, who knows. But yeah, we'll see. There might be more of these in the future. We shall see. If not, next video on this channel will be pre-release thoughts on HOTM in October, which isn't long away. And I've got a lot of the book yet still to write, so better crack on. I will see you next time. Goodbye.